The Mecha franchise, or should I say genre, though in the end it really doesn't matter because 95% of it is the Gundam franchise, and from there you only have two paths to follow: Demon Cheeks or become an evangelist. Whoa, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. Mecha really is the gift that keeps on giving. For example, let me just pull up my notes here. I know I wrote this shit down somewhere. Ah, yes, found it. It gave us classics such as the Gundam KMS, and other acclaimed series such as I Couldn't Care Less. But honestly, what I think is more impressive about this medium is how it's almost as easy and smooth of a transition to get into as the Fate franchise. Heck, maybe even harder. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're actually here to talk about one of my favorite animes I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing. Fuck you little shit! 9 whole years ago. I can't believe it. It's almost been a decade, and CGI is just as bad. Now, I can promise you that you've never heard about this anime, but before I start making claims... Joe! What, Hotch? Ever heard of the Love Love franchise? Nope. Well, that makes two of us. Why'd you ask, Hotch? Because this anime is technically part of the Move Love universe, or multiverse, because why milk a franchise when you could just suck it? Yeah, I know what's going through your minds at this very moment, and usually you would never see me stepping below such a low bar. One reason would be because my back would break, it's so low. But the more important reason is that it looks stupid as hell, and my watch later list is already too fucking long. Until I picked up this show that tickled that political underboob I was hiding. Yep, it's always been there. I apologize for catfishing you. Now shut up and look at my face, I'm trying to speak. First, let's get something out of the way, and that is the undying truth that I couldn't give a damn about politics. Well, actually, that's not true. I have very strong opinions. But for the sake of argument, let's pretend I'm unbiased for a second. There's something about the word, but I could be lying in death's not-so-sweet embrace, and I hear that shit. My brain, no, my very soul would stand up out of my body. The doctors and nurses will stare in amazement as I walk straight to the TV and turn that shit off like it was KSI's latest album. But let me tell you, when Anastasia gets on that stand to make her inauguration speech, you know my ass has already donated my life savings to her OnlyFans account a month prior. You see, this is why young people don't vote. We don't need a president or prime minister that puts the country first. I want a president I can goon to. And this anime has got you covered, or uncovered. Okay, come on guys, this is a serious video. I'm trying to sell you on watching an anime that has a 6.5 mile score, so I might need to try a little harder. First up, let's talk about the lore. Aliens are invading Earth because it's either that or they're getting a part-time job at McDonald's. Now, you would think that the smart thing to do would be to immediately evacuate 2 major cities right off the bat, but I guess Akihabara and Town Square hadn't been invented yet, or just simply weren't appealing enough because the aliens picked Germany as their first target. Yeah, you heard that right. Germany to attack first. What a surprise. No, really, like, what a surprise. That's the first time I've heard of that. Anyways, humanity just so happens to have a way to fight back against the invading bug life force with humanity's most advanced insect exterminator known to date. Whoa. Wrong one. Forgive me, I get these things mixed up all the time. Okay, sergeants, we have amassed you boys and women together to fight the invading beetles, scorpions, Caucasians, and please be very, very wary of the grubs. They are massive, and we can't tell if that thing on the bottom of them is their ultimate weapon or their manliest weapon. A word of advice, stay clear of that thing, especially if you're a female. Are we clear? Yes. Theodore, yes. Stop looking at my breasts when I'm giving orders. Annette, please save your PTSD attacks until after the battle and not in the middle. George, I ask you to refrain from farting while in the mech suit. You might not realize it, but we can all hear it through the intercoms. Are we clear? Theodore, stop sleeping with your siblings. This is the infamous 666 Squadron, mostly known for being absolutely brutal and efficient with their job of exterminating alien life forms. They are the self-proclaimed masters of beating those betas. Yes, I know, the aliens are called beta. Shut the fuck up. I'm not done talking. Should I tell them? No, but you should seriously tell them. Okay, fine, I will. Take all that alien bullshit I just told you and completely forget about it, because this show isn't about an alien invasion at all. And if you're wondering how they even fit into the story, well, they just take a back seat as more of an elemental factor than the actual main conflict. If you're looking for a generic alien versus mecha show, go watch every other anime in the genre. But I don't feel like watching that, and neither should you. Show yourself some respect, please. So instead we got a good old tale about overthrowing a Nazi government. But that's not all. Just to name a few of the other political powers at play, we have the KBG. I think it was called. We also have the revolutionaries, who have secretly built their own version of the catacombs outside of Berlin. The unofficial revolutionaries, who are the only people who ever get anything done. East Germany, West Germany, and North America, who sits the furthest away from danger and only provides support in the form of carpet bombing. How accurate? I'm telling you guys, there is no other way to do it. Carpet bombing is the one way, the only way, and the right way. The ground there was too high anyway, it needed to go down. This anime has every reason to be chaotic, confusing, and way too fucking short. But who doesn't enjoy a good clusterfuck? Okay, so essentially we got this squadron called the Mark of the Beast. And while they're out killing other beasts with their QBC-95Bs, the Nazis... Stasi back home are busy torturing people because they sneezed the wrong side of the breakfast table, similar to that girlfriend you caught cheating last month, but I digress. Their goal is to find traitors, with or without evidence, and getting information out of them about any and all types of rebellions currently in the works is their #1 top priority. The main character just so happens to have been one of those unfortunate civilians who, well, let's not put it lightly. He sold out his own family because, unsurprisingly, torture, in fact, hurts a lot. So anyways, for some reason he is not disposed of directly and instead ended up in the Devil's Squadron that fights the aliens on the front lines. But due to selling out his own family for... he's now a bit of a dick. Until one day, his captain asks him to save a random girl who bears a strong resemblance to his sister. Keep an eye out on that because it's gonna come up later. As soon as she is brought in, the girl is immediately shuffled into the squadron right after being discovered to be a native to West Germany, which if that was to be found out could lead to high suspicion by the Stasi and perhaps some heads rolling. These guys are just repackaged IRS. The girl then reveals to Theodore her surname that nobody asked for, but just so happens to be that of a war hero, claiming to be the general's daughter and apparently is on a hunt to find him after his disappearance a few years prior. Things begin to get complicated when the MC starts snooping through the government files and finds that every mention of her father has been completely erased from all records. Now, fully understanding what kind of shit he's gotten himself into, Theodore immediately takes a rain check on that, as his very own general of the 666 Squadron was known to have killed her own brother as a sign of loyalty to the Stasi, assumedly stationed there to spy on all of her subordinates for a chance to report them to the government. But she's hot, so something about this story doesn't seem to add up, and Theodore has to act carefully as no one person around him can be fully trusted. Adding onto this mess, his real sister appears out of nowhere, apparently unexecuted, and immediately tries to sleep with him because that's just what families do, am I right? So yeah, that's sort of it for the synopsis. Now this story could seem interesting enough, but let's dive into what precisely I love so much about this anime. First off, the fact that the aliens are given the role of causing anxiety, constantly having to keep in mind while not becoming the main focus, created a way for the anime to not fall into that generic alien slodge that we've all seen a trillion times in the past, and I thought it handled it really freaking well. Multiple countries will be hosting a coordinated fight against the aliens, all equally relying on each other for support, when the Stasi get a call about a government takeover back at the capital, and then they just dip immediately, leaving the remaining countries to suffer massive losses, potentially costing the entire mission. One thing that I feel most competent in myself for, besides my relationship status, is predicting who is and isn't expendable in an anime. And nowadays, it has become so easy to predict that shows have started to lose most, if not all of their stakes, since, oh look, this person doesn't have a face. Or look who randomly got a bunch of development for absolutely no reason, but conveniently before a mission that we are told will be really easy. But Schwarzesmarken rarely gives any signs or death flags before killing a character off, making it extremely hard to proactively know the anime's outcome. The people that I thought would be the first to get poached somehow managed to last to the very end, and those I believe the author would never touch with a 10-foot pole just flipping yoinks their heads off when you least expect it. Now for me, I can generally get over the trope of kids becoming superheroes and fighting villains or monsters, because the idea isn't that out of place and makes sense most of the time without requiring 15 shots of trust me bro. But mecha is the one genre that I can never get behind, since there is absolutely zero ways you can explain to me in a convincing, coherent sentence that a literal 14-year-old should be operating a full-size war machine. Thankfully, some writers are aware of this and just said, fuck it. We know this doesn't make any sense, but want to look at some demon ass instead? And we collectively as a fan base forgave them. But seriously, this is like giving your 12-year-old kid a forklift and 3 fully automatic assault rifles and expecting not to get a noise complaint. But yeah, the characters in this anime are of drinking age, minus this girl who needs babysitting, but she's just the Revolutionaries mascot, so I forgive them. Yes, their sprayed-on clothes aren't required to be there to cover for any inconsistencies and only serve a singular yet very essential purpose. And yes, I get this is low-hanging fruit, but god damn, do they hang well. But I digress again. One thing that I found unique about this show's narrative was the focus on the very real fact that the main character, a guy who was tortured to the absolute breaking point, so much so that he ended up selling out his own family to the Stasi, causing them to be executed, but ultimately saving his own life. But like, how the fuck do you even live with that? How would you even forgive yourself? And the very fact that you now know you can be broken, I could almost imagine that you'd almost not want anyone to trust you anymore. I do wish this show leaned more into these ideas, but I can't complain too much. This anime is not for everybody, especially if you aren't familiar with some of the genres or settings. It's honestly a little too short for the story that it's trying to tell, but it still manages to have left a deep impact on me, almost a decade after watching it. But yeah, this show is supposed to be a break from the norm. I love it so much because it does what few other shows have ever tried to execute, let alone pull off. Like an anime set in post-World War II, focusing on people who love their country, but hate their government. Where have I heard that before? It's very clear that this anime doesn't kill off characters because it wants to. Tragedy exists to prove a point, and there's a certain valor in dying for not a guarantee, but a chance chance for a better future. This anime is absolutely brutal in its depictions of war, and it's easy to see why this franchise inspired Hajime Isayama to write Attack on Titan, not to mention some of the frames from the main series are practically identical. Now the ending might be decisive for some people, but it's honestly the part that made this show so damn worth it. And if you're a fan of tragedy like me, you're gonna need to bring a tissue box, because when this shit hits, it hits fucking hard. Even harder than the sprayed on suits made me. Peace!